What should the Patriots do at number 4? Well, they have options we examine here on Patscast.
Stick and pick or trade it down. Who's gonna wear the Patriots crown? One more shot.
Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Good to be with you. There are endless possibilities on what the Patriots can do at number 4, but for everything to work out, they're going to need to have a strong offseason and a little bit of luck in the draft. And we've seen it before. I mean, for some reason, the Philadelphia Eagles seem to be able to nail every draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers at wide receiver, they can't miss at that position. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they've missed at wide receiver for about a decade now. They're going to have a little bit of luck, which has not been on their side in recent years. And Elliott Wolf certainly has a lot on his plate, and he has Mike Vrabel, who's ultimately going to be making the final call there from everything that we've heard. But the Patriots, and I cannot emphasize this enough, they should have lost that season finale against Buffalo. Yeah, I don't want to go back in time too much and talk about how dumb of a decision it was to really try in that game with Gerard Mayo trying to save his job and Joe Milton going off, etc. This is what happened today, according to Brett Hoffman. The New York Jets, apparently they really like Cam Ward. The quarterback out of Miami could potentially go first overall. And apparently, if what Brett Hoffman is reporting is correct, that's what the Jets would do at number 1. They proposed a trade to the Titans. They have the 7th overall pick, the New York Jets. They would acquire the 1st overall pick from the Tennessee Titans and give them their 2025 first round pick, their 2025 second round pick, their 2026 first round pick, their 2026 second round pick, and their 2027 second round pick. That would have been the kind of return that would have set the Patriots up like the Brooklyn Nets set the Boston Celtics up when they traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to Brooklyn. That's what this trade would have done. But unfortunately, the Patriots decided to win a meaningless game, and now they find themselves at 4th overall. And yeah, like I said, they have endless options, but they don't have these amazing options of trading back and just stockpiling first-round assets from a bad team for years to come. So it's too bad that they're 4th overall and not 1st overall, but that's what's happening right now, and we'll see if that trade ultimately goes through for the Jets. I don't see why the Titans would turn that down, but they need a quarterback as well. But I'm going to go through just a few ideas on what I think the Patriots should do. But the first thing I would do is exactly that. If Cam Ward is still available at number 4, or Shedeur Sanders, one of those guys being available is a real possibility. Work out a deal with the Jets where they have to mortgage their future. I mean, just stick it to the Jets, give them an offer that they can't refuse because they want their quarterback that's ultimately going to help the Patriots. Think of how amazing that would be. Now, they're not going to get the same return trading 4th overall that they would have if they were trading 1st overall, but maybe they could get a future first rounder and or a second rounder for this year's draft, and you'd still be picking at 7th overall. A lot of these guys I'm going to be talking about in a minute will probably be available at 7th overall. So that would be the first thing I would do. If there's a team, especially the Jets, but a team like the Jets that really wants one of these quarterbacks and they're available, yeah, that's going to be a draft day decision, a split-second decision that the Patriots are going to have to make. But the way that this draft is playing out, I think the Patriots might have to make that decision to trade back once they're on the clock. So that will be very interesting, but I think that is the best-case scenario. As much as we like some of the players in this draft, the Patriots they're not going to get the return that the Jets are allegedly offering the Titans, according to Brett Hoffman, but a future first and a second for 2025, that would be huge. And the Jets need a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is leaving, so love to screw them over and have them mortgage their future and get some assets that way. But let's say that's not an option, and the Patriots are stuck at 4th overall and they don't want to trade back. Well, there's 2 guys that they definitely should draft. The 2 blue chip prospects, the only guys that people are really taking seriously in this draft, and that's Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State, and of course Travis Hunter, the dual threat receiver cornerback from the University of Colorado. Now, ranking those 2 at this point in time, Patriots need an edge rusher. Abdul Carter seems to be going 1st overall these days on most mock draft boards, so I'd put Abdul Carter ahead of Travis Hunter. Chances are both of these guys aren't going to be available. One of these guys may be available, but in all likelihood, those guys will both go in the top 3. But if either of them are available, you got to take him. Abdul Carter, explosive edge rusher, would significantly bolster that Patriots pass rush alongside Keon White. He's lightning fast off the ball, elite bending ability, transition. He used to be a linebacker, and now he's a full-time edge, so that's something Mike Vrabel would love. I mean, he was basically that type of player, but he's not Myles Garrett, but he's very similar to Micah Parsons in terms of versatility and upside, and that's really what the Patriots need. I mean, yeah, we all know the left tackle. We know they need a receiver. They could use a few more pieces on that defensive line, but an edge rusher needs to be a top priority. And if you can get Abdul Carter, if for some reason he's available, you take him there. But in all likelihood, he'll be off the board. Travis Hunter is a little bit iffy. I've seen him falling all the way to like 7th or 8th overall in some mock draft boards. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go in the top 3 along with Abdul Carter, and the Patriots won't have the option. But if he's available, you got to take him. And you take him knowing we may not play him at wide receiver. We may not play him at cornerback, but the unreal athleticism, the ball skills, the instincts, it's second nature to him, and players like this don't come out of the draft very often. I could see the Patriots being one of the few teams that would use him as a full-time receiver and then in occasional spots on defense, whereas I think most teams in the NFL would use him in the opposite role. But we know the Patriots need help at wide receiver, and I think Travis Hunter, certainly he can make a lot more money at that position, but he could provide a lot more value. Not saying he couldn't on the defensive side of the football. It's just a little bit redundant having him out there along with Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, teams aren't going to be able to throw on the Patriots, but that doesn't stop them from running the football or doing other things. And if you can score points get you very far in today's NFL, and I think the defense is going to improve regardless with Mike Vrabel as the head coach. You have Travis Hunter available, you got to take him at 4th overall. But let's move into the more realistic choices, all right? Mason Graham seems to be the hot defensive player that everyone's talking about, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Big interior disruptor, would be incredible lining up next to Christian Barmore. Power, quickness, 3-down player. He's going to play every down, relentless motor, ability to collapse the pocket quickly. Patriots really could use a trench warrior like that. And Mason Graham is one of the few players on this list where I would stick and pick at 4th overall. I don't think you're trading back and drafting Mason Graham. Maybe if you don't select him at 4th overall, he'll go somewhere between 5th and 8th, but I don't see it happening. He's probably going to go in the top 4 or 5. So if you really want Mason Graham, you stick and pick there. He would be probably my 3rd option at this point, but it really depends on how Will Campbell is looking at the tackle spot. So I have Will Campbell ranked 4th. I'm not sure he's a stick and pick type player, right? We all know what's going on with him at this point. 33 inches, that's the line. If Will Campbell's arms are 33 inches or longer, he is going to have a successful career in the NFL as a left tackle. If it's 32 and a half inches, like Joe Thuney, doesn't mean he can't play tackle in spots, but he's really ultimately a guard. That's not my opinion. That's what every single NFL expert says. So if Will Campbell comes out with 34 and a half inch arms, then yeah, the Patriots should stick and pick him at 4th overall. And I'd only put Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter ahead of him if they were available. I would have him leapfrog Mason Graham if that were the scenario, because Will Campbell really fits the role very well if the arms fit the role. 6'6", 325 pounds, very balanced, explosive, 3-year starter at the SEC level, gone up against some of the best edge rushers in the country. Immediate plug and play, whether it is at left tackle or at left guard, plug and play immediately at premium positions. Definitely would elevate that O-line, the worst in the NFL by far in 2024. Allowed 0 sacks this past year on 372 pass blocking attempts. Okay, those numbers are through week 9, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't have the up-to-date numbers there, but through 9 weeks this past season, he didn't allow any sacks. That's impressive. I don't care who you are. So Will Campbell, 33 inches or longer with the arms, I would draft him at 4th overall. Now, if he's on the edge and you're iffy, like if it comes at exactly 33 inches or it's 32.9 inches and you're not sure, well, he's going to fall on the board anyway. That's where the Patriots really have to make a tough decision. Do you love Will Campbell? If you do, then you're probably not, he's going to fall a little bit further. So you don't have to take him at 4th overall. Then you consider trading back, a deal with, say, the Vegas Raiders. You fall back 2 spots. Will Campbell will still likely be available. You draft him then. So if he's for sure thing, an NFL left tackle, 34-inch arms, take him at number 4. If he's right on the line and you're not sure, trade back. You can probably still get Will Campbell. If he comes in with very short arms, then I'm not even sure you consider him. But he may fall out of the first round for all we know, if he comes out to truly be a guard. So scouting combine is going to be huge for what we know about Will Campbell. So we'll be here to cover it at PatsCast and talk about him. Hopefully the arms are longer than people think. So now we're moving down the board a little bit further here. So number 1, I would take Abdul Carter. Number 2, Travis Hunter. Number 3, Mason Graham. 3A is Will Campbell if he has long arms. He's number 4 if he has short arms. Number 5 on this list, I have Tet McMillan. And he's been falling down the draft boards like crazy, and I'm really not sure why. I think Tet McMillan might actually be undervalued at this point. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I would have said he was overvalued, especially with how much Patriots fans were talking about the guy and how much we need a big-bodied outside wide receiver. And so many teams need that type of wide receiver, but he's been falling. And part of the reason is there are just so many great receivers coming out of drafts these days with all the 7-on-7 ball that happens. So many great players at receiver that they just don't have the same value that they once did, but they still are valuable. I mean, look what Malik Neighbors did this past year. Marvin Harrison Jr., he was a little underwhelming at times, but ultimately he had a pretty good year. Those were top 10 guys, and deservingly so. Tet McMillan should be considered. Now, he is the type of guy I wouldn't stick at number 4. He's a guy you trade back with the Raiders or the Jets, and you take him at 6th or 7th, or maybe you can get him at 11th or 12th and trade back with one of those teams. I would not take him at number 4, but if you can stockpile a few more assets and get that big-bodied wide receiver, give Drake May a true number 1 target, that goes a long way. And I think Tet McMillan would be that guy. 6'5", silky route running, huge hands. I haven't heard a lot of prototype comparisons to A.J. Brown, but one of the concerns with Tet McMillan is, can he separate? Is he fast enough to separate? Well, A.J. Brown is not exactly a speed demon, but he moves. His route running is very similar to what I've seen with Tet McMillan, and he's a contested catch monster. Maybe has the best catch radius I've ever seen. The one-handed catches that he's able to make, looks like a first baseman with their first baseman with his large hands. Fills a glaring need for the Patriots, a wide receiver. His size and polish could transform the passing game overnight. And look, we know the Patriots, I'd love for them to trade for A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf. It sounds like T. Higgins is out of the running because the Cincinnati Bengals are going to franchise tag him from everything we've heard. Doesn't mean he'll sign there long term. He could be available via trade, but then you're giving something up for him as well. Tet McMillan, you could get that number 1 wide receiver right away in the draft. Yeah, you got other positions of need. This is why free agency is so important, but let's say you can take care of left tackle and you can take care of the edge rusher spot in free agency. Then you can trade back and feel comfortable drafting a guy like Tet McMillan, who I think is a really good player and undervalued at this point. 84 receptions last year, over 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's in 14 games. So pretty good numbers right there that would translate to 1,000-plus yard seasons in the NFL. And he's doing that at Arizona, right? Like, he's not on a great team. He's going to have every team's best cornerback going against him every single game. I would consider Tet McMillan more than most Patriots fans are right now. And like I said, 3 months ago, he was the guy everyone was talking about. But at this point in time, he's undervalued. I saw him in a mock draft today. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 17, falling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this guy's going in the top 10, and I think he probably should. So don't have him super high on my list, but he is a trade back, get more assets, and draft at 7th or 8th type player. I hope the Patriots will consider it, especially now that you have Josh McDaniels. As we learned with Brady and McDaniels over the years, you don't need superstar receivers. Yeah, Randy Moss was great, but the 3 Super Bowls at the end that Tom Brady won with the Patriots, other than Rob Gronkowski, they did not exactly have an elite receiving core. Do you call Julian Edelman elite? He's a Hall of Fame caliber player based on what he's done in the postseason, but not a superstar wide receiver. He's just a little slot guy, and we know what Josh McDaniels can do with those guys, and they already have DeMario Douglas. So I'm not as concerned about trading for a superstar wide receiver now that they have McDaniels, and maybe you can get Ted McMillan in that role, and you don't have to pay him a lot of money for at least 4 years, and the fifth-year option is still cheaper if he turns out to be an elite player. So I'd consider it. Curious to hear from you if you like Ted McMillan. But then I have another couple other players that not a lot of Patriots fans are talking about. These are not guys I would take at fourth overall. These are guys I would trade back and take somewhere inside the top 10 or just outside of it. Number one is Jalen Walker, edge rusher / linebacker from the University of Georgia. This is a guy who I think is probably going to start moving up the draft boards very, very soon, especially being that hybrid edge rusher linebacker type player, tons of speed and versatility. He just breathes Mike Vrabel, right? This is a Mike Vrabel guy. This is Mike Vrabel coming out of Georgia to play for the Patriots. That's what Jalen Walker would be. Explosive burst and range, excels rushing the passer, but can also drop into coverage, play off the ball if needed. He's a real Swiss Army knife, the type of player Bill Belichick would have loved, and the type of player that Mike Vrabel certainly will love. 53 tackles, 7.5 sacks, and a forced fumble in 13 games this past season. Jalen Walker, very impressive player at the University of Georgia. He could be one of those guys who goes in the top 5 if he rises up the draft boards. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. But as of right now, he is a trade back and draft type player, a guy that Mike Vrabel would love. I also think Mike Vrabel would love Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. Not a lot of players from Marshall going in the first round in various NFL drafts, but he is an under-the-radar pass rusher that could really develop behind Keon White. Quick first step and power. Really showed out at the Senior Bowl. He is the type of player that was considered a day 2, that has become a day 1 player. Not a guy you take at fourth overall, but let's say you trade back and you get a ton of assets from a team that's at like 15th overall, hypothetically, and you can get a bunch of future first rounders and future second rounders or second rounder this year, then Mike Green is a guy I would consider somewhere in the middle of the first round. So that's where I rank them. The players that I think the Patriots should highly consider: number 1, Abdul Carter; number 2, Travis Hunter; number 3, Mason Graham; number 4, Will Campbell. He may be number 3 if he has long arms; number 5, Ted McMillan; number 6, Jalen Walker; and then Mike Green at number 7. But let me know if you agree or disagree, if there's any players that I didn't mention that you think the Patriots should take in the first round. Talking about the first round only here. So many opportunities, right, for them to, they have an additional third-round pick. They could trade back into the first round and get their tackle later in the 20s or something. I'm talking early first round here, all right? What should the Patriots do with either the 4th overall pick or the next pick if they trade back? Curious to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We got the Scouting Combine coming up, the NFL Draft, free agency before the NFL Draft. So much Patriots coverage coming up. You're not going to want to miss it.
Lights are bright, the stage is set. Fourth on the board, ain't time to regret. We grab a star, make the boldest play. I'll stack the deck for another day. The trenches call, the battle cries. Ain't no room for compromise. Build the wall, bring the heat. Find a warrior who won't retreat. Stick and pick, or trade it down. Who's gonna wear that Patriots crown? Do we roll the dice or play it safe? No time to lose, no time to wait. Abdul Carter, fast as fire. Travis Hunter takes you higher. Mason Graham, built to last. Will Campbell hold the pass? The war is won inside the line. Protect the kid, give him some time. Big man rule, it's tried and true. That's the way the great ones do. Stick and pick, or trade it down. Who's gonna wear that Patriots crown? Do we roll the dice or play it safe? No time to lose, no time to wait. The path is clear, the choice is near. Gotta be bold, shake off the fear. Dynasties Stick and pick, or trade it down. Who's gonna wear that Patriots crown? One more shot, the time is now. Foxboro's ready, let's lay 'em out.